Have you had your dose of pep today? No? Don't worry. You know I got you. Let's go. Yo, what up, fam? How you doing? How's your mom doing? How's your daddy doing? How's your dog doing? Yo, welcome to the Pep Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Jay, and the purpose of this podcast is to cheer you on and to coach you up. If you're new to this space, I'm a mindset coach and general lover of humanity, and it's my deepest desire to see people living free and fully optimized so that they can live the kind of lives that they are purposed to live. I know I say this a lot, but we are people with purpose who are challenged daily to live lives of purpose on purpose. So I thank you for allowing me into your lives on Mondays, on whatever podcast provider you find yourself listening on, or if you're listening during drive time on the Black with No Chaser app during your morning drive at 8 a.m. or 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much. You are a part of the Pep Fam too. You're welcome here as well. And would y'all do me a favor? I need a favor from you. I need you to listen to this episode and then leave a rating and review. I really want to know what you're liking about the podcast. And listen, only 5-star reviews are welcome. No, really, only 5-star reviews are welcome. Okay, so what are we talking about today? Overcoming. What are we overcoming? Anything. Everything, because we all have something to overcome. We all encounter obstacles. We all encounter walls. We all encounter hardships and hard times and detriment, right? So we all have to have the mindset of an overcomer. And here's how I'm going to frame this discussion. I wrote a book a couple of years ago. Yep, I sure did. And because I have the perfect sense of timing, the book was published the day before COVID-19 absolutely shut everything down. But I want to use that book to frame what we're talking about today. So when we get back, we'll jump right in. Be right back. All right, so we're back, episode 9 of the Pep Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Jay, and today we're talking about slaying lions and accessing the mindset of an overcomer. So I've always fancied myself as a writer, albeit a lazy one. Shout out to all my lazy writers out there. You know you have a book to write, but you're just too lazy to do it, right? So I've been that writer who's been more prone to start something than to finish it. Like if you were to look at the hard drive of my computer, you would see numerous manuscripts that have been started, but not finished. But I remember about 4 years ago, I read a book by Mark Batterson, pastor of National Community Church in Washington, D.C., called Chase the Lion. It's a book with a simple yet powerful premise that we can't be afraid to chase after the things that this life has for us. The core story of the book was from a man named Benaiah who encountered a lion while walking on a snowy day. Instead of allowing the lion to continue on about its business, Benaiah chased the lion, stalked the lion down into a dark pit, and after a battle, he emerged victorious. Pastor Batterson wrote about not being afraid to chase down the dreams and otherwise that God has for us in life. And I loved the book. I loved it so much that I got copies for people around me. I marked up my own copy, which is not something that I had been in the habit of doing up to that point. And as I thought more about the contents of the book and looked at my life, I knew that I needed to do something more than simply chase the lions in my life. I wanted to fully overcome them. I needed to slay them. And that singular thought is what spurred me over the course of a 2-year period to write my book, Slaying the Lion, Hunt What Is Hunting You, available on Amazon. I put that part in parentheses, right? So my own premise was also simple. See, far too often, we run away from the very things that we've been given the power and the opportunity to overcome, to defeat. See, I knew that within me there was a conqueror, a victor, an overcomer. And so out of the work that I was doing on myself and with my faith in God leading the way, I wrote a book that laid myself bare, while also providing hope for how I accepted who I was and how I went through the process of adopting the overcoming mindset and the heart posture of an overcomer. Now, my book is told through the lens of faith, but I believe that the tenets that are in it are just life steps as well. And so I don't know if you, my friend, are coming from a background of faith or what faith or no faith. But I wanted to do this episode simply because I know that there are those of you out there like me who are sick and tired of running, who are ready to attack the lions that keep hunting you and make sure that they don't come back. See, in the book, I say that a lion is anything that tries to keep you from being who you were created to be. They try to keep your dreams from coming true. They try to keep you in a sunken place. And so many of us face these lions on a daily basis. But we don't want to wait for them to attack us. We want to keep attacking them so that we can make sure that when we slay them, they don't come back. See, it's my personal belief that we become the manifestation of the voice that we listen to the most. Throughout our lives, there are so many voices speaking to us. We have the voices that tell us what we can't do. There are the voices that affirm what we can do. There are the voices that tell us who they want us to be. There are the voices with agendas. There are the truthful voices. There are the lying voices. And whichever voice we constantly attune to, whichever voice we allow the most space to speak into our lives, we become a person who manifests that voice. And so, when we talk about becoming an overcomer, if the only voices that we have in our lives are those that constantly call us the victim, or if we're constantly telling ourselves that we are the victim and that things are happening to us, we will never overcome. We will manifest that personality, that idea of ourselves as being a victim. And when I counsel people or when clients are burdened, I always ask them what voice they're hearing. And when we narrow it down, there is always an abundance of a negative, life-killing voice evident. But when you're tuned to the voices that affirm you, that call you a victor, that constantly call you an overcomer, you will begin to believe it. And when you begin to believe it and that mindset begins to develop, you begin to manifest that identity within yourself. And when you have that mindset that you're an overcomer, that you're a victor in every circumstance, that things that happen in your life don't happen to you, but they happen for you so that you can grow and that you can be better, then all of a sudden there is nothing in this life that can defeat you. Can the church say amen? Y'all gonna have to forgive me because I may end up preaching on this episode because I believe so firmly that we are. If you look at your life, look at the voices that have been most prevalent to you. We're like radio stations, y'all. We're like radio stations. We pick up the frequencies and we broadcast the frequencies most clearly that we receive the strongest. So when I say receive, I'm talking about those voices that we internalize, those voices that become a part of our personality, and we begin to manifest whichever frequencies we are the most attuned to. That's why it's so important. It's so important for me that I come on here on Mondays and I'm speaking life into you. Because I don't know what your life is like. This may be the only positive life-affirming message that you hear on a Monday morning. I hope that it's not. But it might be. And this is not me saying that my voice is so important. But I do believe this. I do believe that somebody is going to hear the message that we're bringing on Mondays, and it's going to, that frequency, they're going to attune to the frequency and the life-affirming message and the cheerleading and the coaching and the challenging and the affirming and the encouraging. And that's going to become the person, the mindset that you begin to manifest. Come on, somebody. We're not here just having fun. This is not just a willy-nilly podcast. We're here for a purpose. We're here on purpose to cheer people on, to coach people up so that you can be a manifestation of a life-affirming voice and kill off the victim mindset and fully adopt and adapt a victor's overcoming mindset into your life. So sure, you may get scratched up. You're going to suffer some wounds. But see, being an overcomer doesn't mean that you'll never have to enter into a war. Let's clear that up right now. It doesn't mean that you won't get punched in the face. But having the mindset of an overcomer means that even when the battle comes, even when the fight gets gritty and grimy and you're covered in mud and you feel like you don't have any strength left in your bones, that overcomer mindset kicks in. And you remind yourself that you have the spirit of an overcomer within you, that victory is your birthright. That mindset enables you to keep fighting. It helps you to stand up. And when you are fighting lions of fear, addiction, identity, whatever it is, you will need every advantage that you can find in order to win the fight. Remember how I always say that when you change your mindset, you change your life? I'm going to add something to that. When you remember who you are, you remember what you can do. Let me say that again. When you remember who you are, you remember what you can do. I think about the Lion King. Y'all know the Lion King, that part where Nala has come back and is trying to get Simba to come back to the Pride Lands because his uncle Scar has basically destroyed his home. And Simba's been out there Hakuna Matataing, having no trouble. And Nala comes and she challenges him because you're the king, homie. But Simba runs away and he has this encounter where he is staring in the water, and his reflection moves and he sees his dad. And then he looks up in the clouds and we see Mufasa, a cloud Mufasa, saying, "Son, remember who you are. Remember." And as Simba remembered who he was, he remembered what he was capable of. He remembered, I'm the son of a king. It is my birthright to rule. It is my birthright to reign. It is my birthright to do what I need to do to save my people. And I'm speaking to that person out there right now who has forgotten who they are. I'm here to remind you that it's time for you to remember who you are. Because once you remember who you are, you will remember everything that you are capable of. You'll remember all of the integral positive pieces of yourself that have been peeled off and torn off in all of the wars that you've been in this life. And you'll remember who you are, and you'll begin to pick those pieces back up and reincorporate them into your life. I'm telling you, when you remember who you are, you remember what you can do. You see, your identity is directly tied to your production. You'll never produce what you don't think that you are. And for many of us today, we're oranges trying to produce apples because we forgot that we're actually grapes. And see, not knowing who we are has been the greatest handicap in the lives of so many people. But I'm here today to affirm an integral piece of your identity. You're an overcomer. There is nothing that has happened to you, nothing that will happen to you that you cannot be victorious over. I don't have to know you to know that. And if you're having a serious crisis of confidence right now, I get it. My personal struggle was identifying more with my failures and with the process of changing. I thought that because I kept slipping back into old ways, old habits, old modes of thinking, that I wasn't winning. But the slipping is not the mark of an overcomer. The dedication to continuing to get back up and keep fighting even while slipping, that's what makes an overcomer. As I begin to think of myself more in terms of somebody who is strong and resilient, then those traits that had been dormant begin to get active again. I still remember the first time I was faced with the moment of fear, and I chose to feel it, but move through it into faith and action, That moment of victory was like a force of momentum. I realized that I can do it. And when I realized that I could overcome it, that I could be a victor, I was no longer choosing to be a victim, but I chose to be a victor. I chose to remember who I was. I chose to remember what was already inside of me. And then life began to change. Somebody out there needs a life change. Somebody listening to this podcast episode, I am so glad that maybe this is your first episode listening to this podcast because you need a life change. But you need to remember who you are so that you can remember that you are capable of overcoming. You are capable of cultivating and developing the kind of mindset and personal growth that will propel you toward your purpose. And so the book tells a little more of my story, but suffice it to say that if it worked for me, then it can work for you. This overcoming mindset is not just for a select few. It's within all of us. Becoming a victor is not just for a select few. It is for all of us. And when we accept that, and you are willing to boldly and proudly wear the crown that has been stolen off of your head, then you realize the authority that you have to change your life for the better. So when we come back, I want to ask you two questions that I think are going to help you shift into the mindset of an overcomer. This is episode 9 of the Pep Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Jay. Jam to the music, people. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to episode 9 of the Pep Talk Podcast. We're talking about slaying lions and developing an overcoming mindset, an overcomer's mindset. And we've talked so far about what it means to have an overcomer's mindset. And I've told you that it's in you. You've just got to remember. You've got to remember that you're an overcomer. You have to remember that you are a victor. So I wanted to ask you 2 unorthodox questions that I think will help you get to that point, help you get and rediscover or maybe discover for the first time that overcomer's mindset already at work inside of you. And here are the 2 questions. What's in your hand and what's in your heart? Just 2 simple questions, right? And I know you're sitting there like, wait, what's in my hand? A Coke? A Sprite? My cell phone? I don't know, man. What you mean? Those are my 2 questions. What's in your hand and what's in your heart? So the first question, what's in your hand? I would venture to say that every day at some point you have something in your hands that is more powerful than you know. Like in the Bible, we have David with a slingshot and some smooth stones. He takes down Goliath. We have Moses with a staff that turns into a snake or is used to part the Red Sea. And I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. I'm using the Bible as reference here because right now I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you like I would talk to anybody, and I'm asking you, I'm looking at you, man to man, man to woman, and I'm asking you what's in your hand. And here's why I'm asking you what's in your hand. I'm asking you that because too often we underestimate the things that we have already been given. We underestimate the gifts and the talents and the abilities that we've been given. And we believe that they are underwhelming, that they're not powerful, that they can't do anything, that they can't be used to help us do anything or to help anybody else do anything. But I'm asking you right now, take an inventory. What's in your hand? What is your gift? What is your talent? What is your passion? Right? I called myself a lazy writer in the beginning of this episode. But see, I understand that when I get a pen in my hand and some paper or an open document, I'm powerful. I no longer underestimate the power that I wield when I start writing something down. I love to sing. I no longer underestimate the power that I have when I'm using that part of my voice. I love to podcast, y'all, and you may never have listened to this podcast. You may not even like the podcast, but here's what I know. I don't underestimate the fact that I can come on here with you all every Monday and speak life into you. I don't underestimate the fact that I have a gift for encouraging people and motivating and inspiring people, and I don't think it's underwhelming. And here's the thing. The reason why you need to have a good view and a good understanding of who you are and what you have at your disposal and how you should not downplay your gifts and talent. Listen, I'm just a singer. I'm just a writer. I'm just this. I'm just that. Do you understand how you're playing yourself small when you are downplaying the greatness that is inherent in you, the very thing that you think is average? In your own hands. Somebody is looking at you right now saying, oh my gosh, if only I could code as good as so-and-so. If only I could play the guitar as good as so-and-so. And you're like, I only know 4 chords and a capo. And somebody else is like, what you just played right there blessed my soul and helped me get free. When we start to understand the power of what's in our hand, what we have in our grasp, then you are on the road to becoming an overcomer, because the very things that you are downplaying are the very tools that you can use to find victory in your life. Come on, somebody. I'm helping somebody right now. Because you've spent too long allowing people to downplay what's in you. So now you've started downplaying what's in you as well. And so the very gifts and talents that are meant to be a resource to you in your life and a resource to other people in your life, you have packed them away and buried them and thrown away the key and allowed the lock to get stuck and rusty. You gotta know what's in your hand. You have to know the weapons that you have to fight the war of life. You have to know the weapons that you have inside of your mind to help you get that overcoming mindset revved up and roaring. You have to know what's in your hand. So I'm going to ask you, what's in your hand? What's in your hand right now? What do you have at work in your life that you were good at that gives you a leg up in a fight? Because listen, the fight for your mind is a battlefield. The fight for your mind is not going to be fair. And you have to pull up every tool at your disposal to make sure that you win, to make sure that you can change your mind from one of a victim to one of a victor, to make sure that you change your mind from someone who complains all the time to someone who is intent on finding joy. Because where you program your brain to go, it will pick up the patterns and it will either work against you or it will work for you. So why not program your brain to overcome? Why not? And it's as simple as performing an inventory and writing down all of the things that you're good at. This is not being arrogant, y'all. This is you occupying the space that you have been given in this life to be all that you were created to be. You got to recognize what you have within you so that you can use it to fight for you and on the behalves of others. So that first question is simple. What's in your hand? Now, the second question is what's in your heart? So with the first question, I'm asking you the what, right? But the second question, even though it says what's in your hand, the real question behind that is the why. What's in your heart? Why do you want to overcome? Why do you need to change your life? Why? And that question is held in your heart, your why. And here's what I'm going to say. And I'm going to go back to the story I told about Benaiah in the beginning. You remember Benaiah chased the lion into a pit. He killed it. What was his why? I've thought about that a lot over the years. And I've had a different thought here lately. And I want to share that thought with you. I believe that Benaiah knew that there were villages all around, and that if he allowed this lion to escape, it might put people's lives at risk. So inside of Benaiah's heart, that why of being a protector and serving people by keeping them safe caused him to access his courage, jump down into a dark pit, and kill a lion. What's your why? Why is it so important for you to develop the overcoming mindset? Why is it so important for you to slay your lions? Why is it so important that you change your life right now in this moment? Why is it so important? Here's what I know. I knew that if I did not get rid of my addictions, my sons would have to deal with them. I would lose my family. So if I didn't fight my why is because I wanted to hold on to my family. I knew that I had to change my mindset because I had the mindset of a victim. And if I didn't change my mindset, I was going to show my sons that it's okay for a man to walk through life feeling like a victim and like a nobody. And no, it's not okay for my sons to see that. It's not okay for my daughters to see a man walking through life with the victim mindset. So my why is because I have to protect my family. So I had to understand. I had to remember who I was so that I would pass to my children the life lessons that I believe that they need to be fruitful in this life. And see, developing an overcomer's mindset, it's not enough for us to have it for us. That's why I ask you, what's in your heart? Is it for selfish means? Do you want to become an overcomer so you can be rich and famous and gain influence? Yeah. Maybe that comes along with it. But there has to be another reason that becomes the life beat of your struggle. You're seeking to change. What's in your heart? Who is this for? Why do you want to develop the overcomer's mindset? It's of the utmost importance, my friend, my family. You listening out there, you've got to know your why. Everything comes back down to why. Why do you want to overcome? What's in your heart right now that is leading you to want to develop this overcomer's mindset, to shift the way that you think, to remember who you are so that you can remember what you can do? What's in your heart right now? That's a heavy question. I know it is, but I believe it's one that you have to answer in order to continue progressing and developing and growing in the way that you're supposed to, that you're purposed to. So what's in your hand and what's in your heart? Two questions that will lead you into an overcoming mindset and will allow you to slay any lions that come up in your life. When we come back, we'll have the quote of the day and we'll close out episode 9. Get peppy, people. We'll be right back. All right, our quote of the day. Whew. Oh, it's good. It's good. It's from Roger Crawford. And it says this: being challenged in life is inevitable. Being defeated is optional. Wow, that's strong. Wow, that's strong. Let me say it again. Being challenged in life is inevitable. Being defeated is optional. Yo, I don't know about y'all out there, but if being defeated is optional, I pass on that. I'm exempt from being defeated. I'm exempt from losing. I'm not staying there because I have the mindset of an overcomer. I'm a winner. This is winning season. I need somebody out there just to say it with me. This is winning season. And it's not just me winning. It's everybody around me winning. Yeah, we're going to be challenged. Yeah, we're going to get battered and bruised. But if being defeated is an option, I opt out of being defeated. Whew. What an episode. What an episode. I hope that it blessed you. I hope that it awakened and stirred something inside of you. I hope that it woke you up and revitalized you. Because we cheer you up and we cheer you on and we coach you up on the Pep Talk podcast. And I hope that your day is filled with pep as a result. You're an overcomer. Remember who you are so that you can remember what you can do. I'm so thankful that you all come to hang out with me on Mondays on whatever podcast provider you use, whether it's on the Black with No Chaser radio app. Y'all, Black with No Chaser is doing great things. Download the app. You can catch the podcast and many other podcasts, great podcasts on their radio app. I'm thankful to be a part of the Black with No Chaser family. It's been just really great. Y'all, I love you. Let me say that again. I love you. I love you. I love you. And listen, y'all show some love on the podcast. Rate, review it. Subscribe. Keep those 5-star reviews coming out. I love seeing them. I love hearing about how the podcast has blessed you. And I want to hear from you about this episode too, y'all. So send me an email to thepeppodcast@gmail.com. Hit me up on Instagram @_JBSpeaks. On Twitter @the Pep Talk Podcast. That's the handle. And again, my book, Slaying the Lion, Hunt What Is Hunting You, is available on Amazon. Hey, let me know if you pick up a copy. And if you read it, let me know what you think. I would really love to know it. But I pray that you have a blessed day. I pray that you are peppy all through the day. I pray that you're actively thinking. I hope that you're actively thinking about what's in your hand and what's in your heart. And I hope that pushes you into full-on overcomer, I'm a champion mode. Matter of fact, just leave the podcast singing, "We are the champions, my friend." Shout out Freddie Mercury. All right, y'all be blessed. This has been fun. Keep it light. Keep it love. Keep it peppy. This is the Pep Talk Podcast, episode 9. I'm your host, Coach JB. Y'all be blessed. Peace out.